Hi there, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Total Ramblings. We've got another book review today. This book has just arrived in my postbox. Mr. Babadook. Now, you might be familiar with the film The Babadook, which is a film from 10 years ago, 2014. It's an Australian horror film written and directed by a lady named Jennifer Kent, which was her debut. And the film basically revolves around this book. Now, I will warn you, there are going to be some pretty massive major spoilers for the film. So if you haven't seen the film, and if you don't want to know what happens in the film, then don't watch this video. Go and watch the film and then come back, because I'm going to be going through it. In the film, essentially a lady, an actress by the name of Essie Davies plays a lady named Amelia. And Amelia has a 6-year-old child, Samuel, and he is a very difficult child. And basically, the story goes, we kind of see it in a flashback. Amelia's husband, Samuel's dad, died whilst Amelia was on the way to hospital. There was a car crash. The father, the husband, died, and then Amelia gave birth to Samuel. And in the film, she apparently has never quite resolved her underlying feelings about the child, because she kind of unconsciously holds him responsible for the death of her husband. And the film, The Babadook, it's a film about grief, it's a film about depression, and it's a film about a monster which may or may not be real. Basically, Samuel is a very difficult child, and Amelia one day finds this book on his bookcase called Mr. Babadook, and reads it to him, and he's already upset about monsters, and essentially she kind of then gets haunted by this creature called the Babadook. Now, this is where the spoilers kick in. The Babadook may or may not be real. What we may actually be witnessing in the film is a psychological break by Amelia. She may just be going nuts. The Babadook may be in her mind. As I say, she's got these unresolved tensions with her son about the death of his father. But this all kind of starts when the son kind of goes down into the basement and starts messing with his father's stuff. This is kind of when the story sort of ramps up a notch. And as I say, she finds this book. Now, one of the theories of the film is that there's actually like a throwaway line in the film that Amelia writes children's books. And I subscribe to the theory that she created this book, possibly unconsciously or in an earlier stage of her life. And that essentially what we see is this book is like a manifestation of her psychosis, her grief, her depression. And ultimately, she and Samuel defeat the Babadook. And it's kind of ends up locked in the basement. It doesn't go away completely. She has to kind of acknowledge that it's there and keep it fed. But ultimately, she kind of wins through and kind of battles through her depression and her grief and the resentment of her son. It's an interesting film. I recommend you go and watch it. Anyway, I discovered that there was a real book, The Babadook. This was obviously based off of the film. It's an extremely limited edition. It's very hard to get hold of. I'm not going to tell you what I paid for this. But I have a copy now, and it's really cool because it's an exact kind of replica of what you see in the film. It's a pop-up book. I'm just going to unmount the camera so that we can see the whole thing. It's quite grim. So if it's in a word or it's in a look, you can't get rid of the Babadook. Now, Babadook is an anagram of a bad book. Whether that's deliberate or not, we don't know. But you can see here, If you're a really clever one and you know what it is to see, then you can make friends with a special one, a friend of you and me. And here we can see the Babadook is coming through the door. His name is Mr. Babadook, and this is his book. You can see all this. The book's kind of done in sort of charcoal. There's a scene in the film where Amelia tries to destroy the book, and then goes to the police station, and her hands are covered in what we imagine is soot, but is actually theorized to be charcoal, because the book comes back. A rumbling sound, then 3 sharp knocks. Babadook, duck, duck. That's when you'll know that he's around. You'll see him if you look. And we've got this kind of, these letters are stuck on. This is exactly as it appears in the film. Rumble, rumble, rumble. And we've got Babadook, duck, duck from the Babadook with a scared child. This is what he wears on top. He's funny, don't you think? This is a classic stance of the Babadook with the sort of splayed fingers here. See him in your room at night and you won't sleep a wink. And here's a dog. Now, if you like dogs in films, I'm afraid this one doesn't end well for the dog. Let me in. So basically, the Babadook is... you could regard it as like a sort of manifestation of Amelia's grief, of Amelia's depression. Yeah, see him in your room at night and you won't sleep a wink. I'll soon take off my funny disguise. Take heed of what you've read. And once you see what's underneath, and here we have very scary Babadook fully manifesting, you're going to wish you were dead. In the film, I think this is where we stop reading the book with Samuel, sorry. And but the book has then empty pages, but it kind of gradually fills up. We don't see all the pages in the film. For those who think that's just for kids, this thing is not for me. I urge you not to say those words. Please take this seriously. And we have another door here. Duck, duck, duck. There's just no way you're off the hook if you're all grown up when you read this book and you snub your nose with a civilized look. You'll appeal even more to the big Babadook. So this is a representation of Amelia kind of denying her feelings and kind of not fully realizing her grief. And in the film, the Babadook essentially kind of gets inside her and she starts to act erratically. And this is what he'll say. I'll wager with you. I'll make you a bet. The more you deny me, the stronger I get. Then you'll be my puppet, my plaything, my pet. I'll make you do things you'll be sure to regret. And then we have Amelia now fully under the control of the Babadook, and this is where she breaks the dog's neck. And there's a little pull tab here. So as I say, it doesn't end well for the dog. However, she does also, in the book, it kind of predicts that she's going to be strangling Samuel, her son, although she does manage to resist the Babadook. And we also have this gruesome bit here where she slices open her neck. Slightly disappointingly, in the Babadook film, this blood is kind of like you pull it out from the pop-up book. Here it's just kind of, it's still quite well done, but that's the only kind of difference I've spotted thus far between the film version of the book, The Babadook, and the book version of the book, The Babadook. You cannot get rid of me. And so this is actually quite a scary film, albeit on a limited budget, but I think it's very effective. There's a scene where you kind of see the Babadook scurrying like spider-like across the ceiling of Amelia's bedroom before it sort of possesses her. And then here is a bit that you definitely don't see in the film, because this is kind of the end of the film, Dare to look me in the face, try to put me in my place, I will cause you so much strife. And basically she denies the Babadook. She says, you are trespassing in my house, and she kind of takes control of her own emotions. And what happens is the Babadook ends up running away downstairs and slams itself into the basement. But you might just get out with your life, duck. And essentially, from that point on in the film, the Babadook lives in the basement. You can see it here. She hasn't completely defeated it. She can't fully get rid of it because it is a part of her, right? But she has to kind of acknowledge that it is there, and she feeds it worms. And you can see here we've got the dog, Bugsy. He has now been buried, and this goes down. It's a little bit stiff. I don't want to bend it. This goes down to cover Bugsy underground. Whether adult or child, best to give me a home. Put the welcome mat out with a room of my own, and accept that I'm here and from you I have grown. Keep me smaller in size, I might leave you alone. So basically the idea is, as I say, is that she can't fully escape the feelings that she's got. I only said might. She has to acknowledge, if it's in a word or it's in a book, you can't get rid of the Babadook. And please don't be tempted to tear up this book. And there he is at the end. She has to acknowledge that the Babadook, these feelings are part of her, but she's able to keep them under control by locking them in the basement and kind of feeding them and kind of, you know, it's like if you have any loss in life, any kind of grief or anything, you don't lose the grief. It might get smaller, but you still have to acknowledge that it's there. It's part of you. And at the end here, under this flap, this is an original first edition Mr. Babadook book. I wouldn't advise you tearing it up, burning it, or trying to otherwise destroy it. You'd only make things harder for yourself. Best wishes and good luck, Jennifer Kent. And we've got some acknowledgements here at the bottom. And that's really the only kind of indication that this is anything other than a sort of handmade book. Obviously in the film it is a handmade book, and Amelia doesn't really remember where it came from, but as I say, there's a theory that I subscribe to, that, you know, she writes children's books. She created this book. She created the Babadook. And it's, as I say, it's a film about loss. It's a film, it's an uncomfortable film in many places to watch because Samuel is a little shit, but also, you know, she's not a very good mother at times. And it's kind of, like I say, it's an acknowledgement that if you have these feelings, you can't get rid of these feelings. They are part of you, but you can manage them, you can control them, you can lock them away in maybe a part of your mind. And as long as you don't deny them, you can stop them from overwhelming you. And I think that, yeah, there are many interpretations of the film, but this is the one that kind of makes sense to me. And this book kind of resonates, the film resonates with me, which is why I had to have a copy of the book. I haven't bought this from new. It's about 8-10 years old, this book. But I rewatched the film recently, and I thought, I've got to have a copy of this. And turns out there was a copy of this, and I got one. So there you go. So like I say, massive, massive spoilers for the plot. But I think this is a very special book that kind of speaks a lot to me. Might not speak as much to you, especially if you haven't seen the film. I'm going to have to watch the film again now with this book in my hand. But I like the fact that, you know, with the one exception that I found, this book is identical to the one in the film. These are stuck on. It's not just printed. So there you go. So not so much a book review as a book reading almost. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't seen the film The Babadook, go and look at it. Go and have a look. And I will be doing the same thing probably tonight, probably straight after this, having now got a copy of Mr. Babadook itself.
If you enjoy what I do here, although I can't think why, please remember to click the like button, smash that subscribe button, and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video. You might also want to check out my website, www.worldsbestestpoet.com, if you fancy a laugh.